Welcome to 2024, A Year in Stories. I'm your host, Jaden Jefferson, and whether you're here by choice or not, thanks for being here. Now, this year was dominated by politics and pop culture. In some cases, both. But we're going to start in January of 2024 to take a look back at what I was working on then. The issue of youth homelessness is a problem across the country. But one important factor in addressing the issue is starting with the outreach at schools. How were things allowed to get as bad as they did? That is a key question in the living conditions at Ashland Manor, an apartment complex in Toledo. The curiosity.
Really
Turkeys can be journalists too. I mean, no one said they couldn't be. I mean, let's be honest.
they're just so, they're special and they're unique animals. And then, that's Baja Blast.
Doing these end of the year recaps will make you think a few different things. Maybe one being that I can't believe this all happened in this year. And two, I can't believe more followed. And that's 100% the case with me. I'm going to take you to the spring season when I visited Northeast Ohio, the village of East Palestine in particular, which was the site of a February 2023 train derailment. I'm on the ground to hear stories from people in this community, including the village manager. Another highlight from this year was actually what followed my reporting in East Palestine. While I was there, I reached out to the team of Gloria Steinem, Toledo native and just legend. And they responded, and I got to sit down with her. Here's a clip from our conversation.
Little kids from a very young age say it's not fair. And that single sentence is the beginning of every revolution.
I really encourage you to check out that full conversation because that was one of those rare interviews where I myself was thinking, what do you even ask someone such as Gloria Steinem? And it really all came together beautifully. Definitely check that out. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the solar eclipse. Take a look. All over today, Toledoans and Northwest Ohioans in general went outside around 3 this afternoon to watch the total solar eclipse, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Some folks even traveled from out of town to view the event.
Well, my kids came from Michigan. I wanted to make sure they experienced this with me. We loved it. We loved it.
And the moment totality hit, celebrations did too, on both sides of the Maumee River, but especially in Glass City Metro Park. There is total darkness on the east side of downtown Toledo and in a lot of parts of Northwest Ohio right now.
Will you remember this?
Okay, maybe there's one more highlight I have for the spring season. And most of my stories, they're very serious in nature. They're not lighthearted. But this one was, and I have to say, I will never forget it.
When I was in what I call the joint, the rehab place, I would roll and sit by the nurse's station, and they'd give me a little table, and then I could practice my spelling and all that writing. And somebody said, move. And I said, didn't even realize I said it. I said, move, get out the way. Get out the way, get out the way. Everybody turned around, looked at me. They were cracking up. And I'll tell you, after that, they were all my buddies.
Lynx says she's been a fan since the rapper's 2004 feature on Usher's hit song. And niece Anna Mills says the moment took even her back.
She said, I remember dreaming about that song by Luda, and it was an amazing moment for us because we were like, okay, so she could hear us. We're like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Summer is a hot season, but this story, it was pretty cool. Sorry for the pun. I interviewed 11-year-old Layla Harris, who started Layla's Promise, a charity, in the first grade. The aim, to give gifts to other kids on Christmas Day who otherwise wouldn't get them.
We've made care packages for homeless people, and we've made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with food for thought, and we've also done many STEM projects internationally and locally.
I've got to say, it's my hope that when the world is cooked and we're all gone, that this is one of the stories that the aliens come across, to show that humanity wasn't all bad. We weren't all terrible people. Layla's wonderful, and I think we need more of her. So Layla, thank you for being you. Another highlight of my 2024 reporting was my conversations all about the politics of it all. And I got to speak with Kyle Clark, anchor at 9 News in Denver, Colorado, who's moderated plenty of debates. So he was my expert on the upcoming Trump-Biden debate. Take a look back at this conversation. With them both being so unpopular, how do you think this debate is going to play out in terms of relevancy? Do Americans really want to hear from both of them?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jane. I think because of the way our political system is set up, it is basically a binary choice, right? Democrats and Republicans, and then beyond that, you get down to just a candidate, which means that Donald Trump is not going to represent the full scope of views among people who call themselves Republicans or right-leaning independents, and President Joe Biden is not going to represent the views of everybody from the far progressive left to the centrist, more conservative Democrats, right? So there's always going to be people who are unhappy with the one person who is out there for their party in a binary election like this.
And there were more conversations that followed that, including one with Princeton University professor Julian Zelizer, as well as my counterpart in Canada, Wyatt Sharp. It really was a fun year for politics, especially when you're a policy and politics reporter like myself. I started this special by saying that politics and pop culture dominated this year. And that pop culture part was pretty interesting. A lot of big music releases. And that's why I joined my friend Angela Jennings for the episode of this short series I did called Out the Loop. We had plenty of fun. Here's a clip from that.
My dad asked me about Charlie XCX yesterday, so I'm like, oh, okay, we've made it. If Gen X is asking about Charlie XCX.
That was a great way to start the wind down to the summer season, as well as a conversation I had with the Northwest Ohio band Girl Named Tom that was actually featured on The Voice. Now this was a unique opportunity, a great conversation, definitely great people as well. This next segment isn't even a 2024 highlight. It's a life highlight. I had the opportunity when I visited DC this fall to interview Jeff Bennett and Amna Nawaz, anchors of the PBS NewsHour, one of the best news programs around, if not the best news program around. We had a great conversation about covering foreign policy stories, about journalism in the 21st century, and how this newscast, which has now been around for decades, has evolved and how they're carrying the torch.
We see ourselves as stewards of this institution and pushing the legacy forward. I mean, it's hard to think of any other show that has had the track record of this one.
It's not just that we report the day's news, that people want to know what happened. They want to know why it matters and why it should resonate in their lives and in their communities and in their homes.
A big thank you to the team there, and I have to say, if you're looking for stories with depth, complexity, definitely check out the NewsHour because they're always providing that. Really leveling up your news viewing experience for sure. And November brought another career highlight, and this is the unique part about this. It was the first time I ever traveled outside the country. I spoke at the Nonpartisan Future Voters Summit in Toronto, Canada. Now this event encouraged youth to get involved with the world of government and policy. So the best way to recap 2024, I just have to say, and I know this is cliche, new experiences. I did a lot of things that I was truly excited about and passionate about, and I think that is just great guidance and advice for life. Just do things that make you happy. I did a lot of that this year, and I look forward to doing more of that in 2025. Thanks for watching.